Good morning, everybody. My name is Caroline Williams, and I chose to do my self-communication project on systemic lupus erythematosus, which can also be called SLE or just lupus. So to get started, self-communication is the way that cells talk to each other. Cells receive signals through receptors. Receptors are made to recognize specific signals, and then the receiving cell responds by growing, dividing, or releasing another molecule. This is called reception-transduction response. Cell miscommunication occurs when somewhere in there the signaling goes wrong and causes a problem somewhere in there. This is a graph of cell communication. This is the reception, this is the transduction, and this is the response. This is how it's supposed to look. So I chose lupus because this is my grandmother, Linda Williams. She was diagnosed with systemic lupus 15 years ago, and I chose to focus my research based on what I believe causes her symptoms. So what is lupus? Lupus is a chronic autoimmune disease where the immune system mistakenly attacks healthy cells, causing inflammation that can affect various parts of the body, including joints, skin, kidneys, heart, and even your brain. Your immune system produces antibodies that mistakenly target the healthy cells and tissues, leading to inflammation all over the body. This can cause widespread damage. So where is lupus located? It's hard to pinpoint exactly where lupus is located or where it comes from because they have accredited about 50 different genes that can be a cause of lupus. One example is the HLA gene, which can be seen right here or right here somewhere on this board. So for lupus, it requires a trigger from the environment like sunlight, stress, hormones, mainly estrogen, or even certain medications can trigger it. So symptoms of lupus. In more mild cases of lupus, people can experience things like fatigue, joint pain, fever, skin rashes, photosensitivity, hair loss, mouth sores, and headaches. In the more extreme cases of lupus, people can experience kidney damage, heart muscle inflammation, inflammation of the tissues around the lungs, which is called pleurisy, high risk of blood clots in veins or arteries, and blood abnormalities like anemia or low platelet counts. Also nervous symptoms, like stroke, seizures, and even severe cognitive problems, and peripheral neuropathy causing numbness and weakness in your limbs. So the differences in lupus between men and women is actually really interesting because men tend to be affected by lupus more severely than women do. And this is because lupus, one of the genes that it is accredited to is the X chromosome. And since women have two, they are more likely to get it. However, since women do have two X chromosomes, they produce more estrogen. And estrogen is an immuno-enhancing hormone that strengthens your immune system and helps you fight against autoimmune disease like lupus, which is why the symptoms in women aren't as extreme. But in men, since they don't produce as much estrogen as women do, their immune systems aren't as strong, and their lupus symptoms progress faster than women's, which is why they don't catch it until it's at an extreme point. Lupus and how it's affected by cell communication. So lupus is an autoimmune disease. An autoimmune disease is when your body attacks its healthy cells and tissues. Autoimmune diseases are caused by cell communication errors. When normal cell-to-cell signaling is disrupted, your immune system becomes overactive and begins to cause inflammation and damage. So the two pathways that affect lupus that I chose to focus my research on are the NF-κB pathway and the JAK-STAT pathway. And these pathways both cause symptoms that are inflammation, and then that's what causes these symptoms. So the NF-κB pathway is also the nuclear factor kappa light chain enhancer of activated B cells pathway, or just the NF-κB pathway for short. Typically, this pathway is only supposed to turn on when needed, like B cells mature and helping them form their germinal centers, which is where antibodies are made. It gets overactivated in patients with lupus because of high levels of B cell activating factors. This results in B cells living longer than they should, which causes more autoantibody producing cells, causing lupus to flare up. NF-κB also turns on hundreds of pro-inflammatory genes that normally shut off after infection. So, and then my second pathway is the JAK-STAT pathway. It's the Janus kinase signal transducer and activator of transcription pathway. Normally, cytokines bind its receptor, activate JAK, and then phosphorylate or activate STAT. STAT moves into the nucleus and turns on genes for immune responses like fighting infections. In lupus, the pathway becomes overstimulated and causes chronic inflammation. High levels of type 1 interferons are produced that constantly activate this pathway. Proteins that normally turn off this pathway are less active in lupus. So treatments in managing lupus, the whole point of treatments is to reduce flares and prevent organ damage. So treatment plans are individualized based on the type of person based on the type of lupus that a person has, and how severe their inflammation is and how progressed it already is. So since lupus does change over time, treatment plans need to be frequently checked out and making sure they're still working. So there's 3 different medications that are common for patients with lupus, and those are antimalarial drugs, immunosuppressants, and biologics. In antimalarial drugs, the whole point is to help lupus patients reduce their flares, fatigue, rashes, joint pain, and long-term organ damage, which is for the more mild cases. In more extreme cases, lupus patients are given immunosuppressants, and when it includes your vital organs. And then biologics are used to target one specific point of your immune system rather than broadly suppressing it. So other ways to manage lupus along with your medication is using, making sure to have sun protection, like wearing sunscreen, protective clothing, hats, sunglasses. Also better eating patterns, like more fruits and vegetables, more healthy foods, limiting your processed foods and sugars, and less salt intake. And also stress reduction, like yoga, meditation, and even therapy helps with some lupus patients. And prioritizing sleep, because lupus triggers under stress. So this is my grandmother. She got diagnosed with lupus 15 years ago, and I got the opportunity to sit down with her and interview her about her experience and her symptoms of lupus and what affects her the most. So when she got diagnosed, she went to the doctor because she realized she had what she thought was a sunburn, but it was only the middle of October. So the doctors immediately knew that she had lupus, and she had what was commonly referred to as a butterfly rash on her face. So after 2 biopsies were done, her doctors diagnosed her with lupus. First thought was that her disease may be fatal, but since then she's realized it's the opposite. Her experience with lupus, she has flares occasionally, and to manage them, she stops and takes a break and also takes pain meds if needed. When asked about her daily life and if lupus has affected any of it, she said no, because she lives with what she knows, and she knows what lupus is, and she just deals with it. Her outlook on life has changed since her diagnosis. It helps her to remain positive. She does research often, because she's a big researcher, and has gotten over her fear of it being a death sentence. So her symptoms with lupus, she mainly deals with arthritic symptoms like bones aching and joint pain. She also deals with back pain, hair loss, and has skin rashes from time to time. She also suffers from hearing loss and wears hearing aids. So one thing that lupus can cause is hearing issues. And at first, that didn't make sense to me until I researched it some more. And lupus triggers an autoimmune response that attacks the inner ear, leading to various types of hearing loss. And immune complexes, which are clusters of antibodies and antigens, can be deposited in the blood flow, which impairs your hearing in your ear. So Grandma takes Litfolo, which is actually a pill that is used to treat patients with alopecia. So because alopecia is also an autoimmune disease, it targets the same pathways that affect lupus, so it's also a good medication used for lupus patients. In conclusion, lupus affects everybody differently. There is still research being done all over the world to better treatments of lupus and hopefully find a cure someday. So lupus, the color is purple, and the symbol for lupus is a butterfly to represent change and thriving in change after it happens. And the lupus month is May. And when I asked my grandmother what advice she'd give to somebody who was newly diagnosed with lupus, she said, keep working, keep walking, don't let it get to you, keep moving forward.